Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Wake Up Legendary. I am your host today. I'm your host all week as Dave does some cleanup at his house in Florida from the hurricane last week. And of course, we have another amazing guest. I actually got to see some of her excitement last night as she shared the interview in a group, and I'm pumped to chat with her more, for you guys to get to know her as well. This is her first time on. I could tell she's a hair nervous, but I know she's going to do great. And I know our Wake Up Legendary audience is always so welcoming, loving, caring, doing all the shout outs. So please, without further ado, as you come in, please welcome Jackie to the show. Good morning, Jackie. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm good. Yeah, nailed it. Nervous, but good.
It's all good. I think it would be weird for someone not to be nervous, because even guests that come on a second, third, or more times,
Right.
they're still nervous too.
Okay.
They're like, I'm even more nervous this time.
The pressure.
And it's funny because it's not like there's like a script to follow.
Right.
There's not talking points that you're like, I hope I don't mess this up.
Oh no, I tried to chat GTP some talking points.
But there's none on our side. Like, we're literally, I have my coffee and we're just gonna chat, and you can't mess it up because all we ask is that you share your story. Yeah, that's it. So it's super easy. And you can't be stressed about your own story, your journey, your story, your experience, whatever it is, it can't be wrong.
It's not wrong, but it can be stressful.
Oh, it can be stressful, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
So tell us let's go to the start. What were you looking for? Were you looking for something online? And how did you come across Legendary?
Well, I was looking. So let's take this back. Let's see, in like 2018. So my first son was born in 2012. In 2018, I was a stay-at-home mom between those years. And then in 2018, things changed and I needed to get a part-time job and replace some income. And so I had gotten a flyer in my mailbox. The post office was hiring, and the flyer said, work 1 to 2 days a week and more if you want to. And I'm perfect. All I'm after, I want to be a mom, still, but all I was after was just 1-2 days a week, something very simple as a rural mail carrier. Or I was their assistant at the time. And so I started doing that, and it was not part-time, and it was not 1 to 2 days a week. It became very quickly 6, sometimes 7 days a week. And I just felt trapped because it was the most pay I could make for the least amount of hours I could work. And if I was to go get a different part-time job somewhere, I would make way less than I was making. And so it just kept keeping me in this little stuck cycle. So as we go to like 2018 and then on, my kids are getting older. I'm still working full-time. I'm nearly full-time. And I'm not enjoying life. I'm not enjoying it because I'm missing, from the time my kids were in elementary school, I'm missing, lunches at schools with them. I'm missing their parties. I'm missing the, a lot of the things that even my son this morning is like, Mom, can you come to my school for lunch next week? It's my birthday. And I'm like, well, let me see if I can get somebody to cover my shift. Right. So every year just keeps kind of piling and piling and piling. And so it came to, January of 24. I think I came across Legendary possibly in like end of December, early January of 24. And I did buy the 15-day challenge at the time. So I came across it in a video of somebody on, I think it was Instagram, probably, a mom who was able to stay home with her kids, of course. And so it was interesting. And I had never heard of really affiliate marketing. I mean, I guess I had a bit, but as far as applying it to me, like that's just something people do, but you don't think that that's something. I was never on really social media. I think I shared memes or shared some funnies on Facebook, but I didn't know how to use TikTok. I didn't know how to use Instagram. So I wouldn't have really, I think my mom actually shared me one video on TikTok, and it goes browser only because I didn't have the app even. I'm not the person who sits there and scrolls. I don't have the time in my day to do that. I'm busy, and so anyway, so I came across one video and I kind of rabbit holed a little bit and came across another lady, and she started talking about doing this challenge and stuff. And I'm like, well, I can do that. Maybe I'll get massive amounts of skills and really learn what people are doing. So I took the challenge, and since I'm a mail carrier, I can listen to things while I'm working.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
So I was listening to the challenge while I was working, and it was really funny because I don't care what day it was on, but I was plowing through it as I'm working because I'm like, oh, keep going next. I can push the next one. And if I had to wait for it to be unlocked, I'm like, come on, like I want to listen to the next one. And
you're on that text with your advisor. Hey, what do we need to do?
What do we need to do? Because I was just so like desperate, right? So as I'm going through the challenge, and it's talking about how you gotta be desperate, and I'm like, that's how I feel, right? Because I've gotten to this place where I'm like, I'm missing everything with my kids. Like, I don't get to do anything during the day with them unless I can get somebody to cover me. Because if I'm not working and I don't have a substitute, my job doesn't get done, and I have almost 700 angry customers because they didn't get their mail, right? And so it just is, I have to have coverage. So anytime I take time off, like, well,
hard.
It's hard. And so then you feel guilty and you feel bad. And so you're like, no, kid, to my son, I'm like, if I don't have coverage, I can't, and I hate that feeling. So I feel desperate, right? So in the challenge, when I was talking about just, you got to get desperate enough. And I'm just, I'm there. Like, what can I do, So then I remember the moment, though, because I did upgrade to the blueprints. And I did it before my advisor even knew, because I was driving down and I'm listening to it. And then it says something about upgrading to the blueprints. And so I'm thinking about it right then. And I pull up to a mailbox and I deliver the mail in there. And then I start driving off, but my mirror hit the mailbox, and the mailbox hit the trash can. The trash can came back and slammed me in the elbow. And I was like, mother of pearl. So I go, oh, I'm ready. I'm doing it. Like, I'm done. So that
was it. That was the last straw.
I was like, I am so tired of beating myself up at a job.
Literally
Beating myself up at this job that is not paying me back. Like, I'm only here because if I go get a part-time job somewhere else, I make way less money. That's the only reason. Right. And so I just, at that moment, it literally hit me. It literally hit me.
Right in the elbow.
I was like, I need a way out. Like, I cannot do this, and so I jumped in. And so then when I talked to my advisor later that day, I think it was later that day, and I don't know if he knew that I had done it, and I was like, already did it. Like, I'm already in. So what do we do now? Like, I'm ready to go. So it was quite the journey, kind of getting me up to that point. But once I started, it really, it's just been kind of like learning and growth and opening. You don't learn something before you're ready to, right? And so
it's so true.
It's just been a progression since January, and there's been, roller coasters or waves of things that that impact you or affect you or phase your confidence in yourself, and you have to. It's funny because I ran hurdles when I was in elementary, middle school, high school. And so I always think of it as, I bring it back to this in my mind, where my mom almost made me quit when I was in middle school, because I would run and I would hit my knee every time, just smack it. And I'd come home with bruised knees so bad I couldn't hardly walk. I was limping on both legs, but I loved them. If I could still do it, I would still do it. I loved them. And it was like, to metaphorically or whatever, use the word like hurdle to get through everything, right? If I could run into those and bust myself up for something that I really loved, and then eventually become and accomplish something that I was the only person on my team who could do,
Great.
Because mentally I pushed myself mentally. I knew I could do it mentally. It didn't matter if that was a roadblock for me. Mentally, I knew it was what I wanted. And so I visualized it and I pictured it and I made it happen, right? So I apply that to this. This is something I don't know. And I hate not knowing what I don't know. Because I feel like, okay, what's next? Like, that didn't work, but what do I need to do next, right? And so I apply kind of those same ways that I was then to doing this. When I'm going through this journey, there's been a lot of things I don't know. And there's been a lot of, well, that didn't work out, you know.
But I think that's the fun part. And that's really, and it's the reality of it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that analogy with sports and with hurdles.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we applied the same thought process to sports that some of us do when we come into starting our own business? That, okay, so I am decided I'm going to be a successful business owner and it needs to happen within 1 month. And could you imagine if we basically took that same mindset, and we'll use hurdles for in this example.
Yeah.
I am going to be in the Olympics as a world-class hurdler in 1 month.
1 month. Yep.
1 month. And the first time I go, I hit a hurdle. I forward roll out of it, which I have seen. My daughter has done that actually over her hurdles.
Yep.
And so now I clearly suck at hurdles. So I'm quitting. It's a scam. It's not possible.
100%.
It isn't for me. Right?
Yep.
When you guys like really think about this, guys.
Yep.
Some of us are taking that's our mindset going into learning new skills and starting a business. And it's wild to me.
Well, and it's even funny, but because even though that is my mindset, that was my mindset, I still find myself like, or I talked to Bonnie, who's my advisor, and even she sometimes reminds me of like, hello, you know, you are not the same person you were 4 weeks ago. Like the way that I started when I first met her, I don't know what I could have accomplished at that point. I mean, and I even had the mindset as the sports person, you know, but this was something so new that I had to remember those things, right? I had to remember deep down that's me, right? But you have to build yourself to that point. And even I find myself like, okay, this isn't going fast enough. I mean, it's like, I am not patient with myself at all. Right. I have to teach myself to give myself that grace, to give myself, because you put so much pressure on yourself in life over everything. And when it's not going as you think you unrealistically expect it to, you get more impatient and you get more desperate and you get more. I mean, a few weeks ago, I found myself with my job and with everything, and this, you know, I was still learning this. I was still learning the skills, right? But I watch everybody's wake up legendaries, and I listen to old ones, and I'm like trying to gain inspiration from them. And what are they doing? Because you feel lost some days. Like, am I doing what's right? Am I on the right track? Is this really going to work? Right. And I found myself like, okay, well, my job is not working. Like, it's taking too much of my time. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning and I pack everybody's lunches. I get ready for work. I get everybody's breakfast ready. And then I'm out the door. Usually I prep things before, but I just make sure it's all ready in the morning. And I'm out the door and I'm starting work between usually 6:15, 6:30. Takes me about 15 minutes to get to work. And then I'm working anywhere between like 12:30 to 3:30. Just it's different every day. And I don't get done until I'm done. Right. So I do that. And then I have to go drive about 20, 30 minutes to pick up one kid. And then I go back 20 minutes to pick up the other two. And then sometimes I can go back 15 minutes if I forget something at home. But usually I have to go about a half hour the other direction to take them to sports practice. And so I'm constantly in the car, just like ping pong, ping pong, ping pong, all over the place. So when we finally get in for the evening, and now it's, you better cook some dinner. You have household things you got to do. You've got their homework. You've got baths, bed, playtime, whatever in the mix, right? You have all that stuff in the middle. And then, so luckily my husband's been putting our 3-year-old to bed for the most part, so I can try to get some work accomplished then. So by the time we finally get everybody upstairs and do that, I have between like 8 and 11:30, I've been trying to work on like my business, building my systems, doing my stuff. And that's if I don't fall asleep too fast.
Okay. But you're like, this is the window I have.
Yeah. So I've been trying, depending on if everything functions smoothly, I can get more time. But if there's kids, or the kids are not going to bed, or that, they get themselves in trouble because I can hear stuff playing around in their room after bedtime. Now I can't do my stuff yet because now I got to go make sure they get to bed. And there's been some nights where they don't go to bed, until late because they don't want to. And it's just like, I can't force you, but you are cutting into my time. So
there was a point with my kids, I'm like, you know what? I can't make you sleep, but I am going to tell you, you got to stay in this bed. Yeah. You lay here all you want, but do not get out of this bed.
I mean, I don't know. So one of the things I've been finding is that trying to better schedule, like get yourself a calendar and schedule your slots, because just trying to throw it in on a whim, I don't have time to throw it in on a whim, especially with 3 boys. It's just, it's insane, and then
schedule in your success. Know where even if it's 15 or 20 minutes, this is what I'm going to do. And you hold yourself to it.
Yeah, that's what I just told Bonnie yesterday. I was going to start actually writing down my daily goals of what I wanted, so then we can cross it off, and I will see those steps, because that's where I felt like, to take it back to like, this isn't going fast enough, is because I'm trying, I was always trying to throw it into the chaos, and it just, it wasn't working, but it was, right? Because this whole process has been working. This whole process has been a huge mindset shift for me. It's been a eye-opening experience, and it's been something so valuable that I don't know that I would not be here now if I wouldn't have gone through all of this. I've been able to get myself healthy mentally, physically, literally cutting out crap from my life that doesn't belong. And in the process of doing that and just having more mental clarity, my body has started losing the weight I needed to lose. It started feeling better. It started getting into a healthier, and I'm not really doing anything other than getting my mind right first, and then just letting what comes happen. Right. And when you project that, and when you see that, and all of a sudden the other stuff doesn't matter. The chaos, it starts to calm down a bit, because it's like, now you're ready for this next step. And then you're ready for the next one, because you start to just let the ball roll. And instead of trying to control and try to comparing, it's terrible.
Comparing is really bad, and you've mentioned a few things along the way here in your story of somewhat of transformation. You've noticed real change in you. That I love to hear. How do you think specifically your confidence has grown from when you took the challenge to now?
Probably 360. I mean, the person I was when I first started, I knew in there, like, I want this. I can do that. I can do hard things. I work a physical job. I can do this stuff. Right. But then you start doing the stuff and you're like, well, that's harder than I thought. Well, I don't, my biggest holdups at first was, I don't look like her. I don't sound like her. Like, she's got this nice, bubbly little personality on social media, and I'm not a girl's girl. I have boys. I'm surrounded by boys. I'm surrounded by, stuff. But even as a kid, I didn't fit in with a lot of the girls. My best friends were guys. And so I'm watching these moms on social media, right? And I'm thinking, well, that's not me though. And so I had to really, like, cut the crap out and be like, that's okay. I'm not them. And I even yesterday was talking to Bonnie, because I said something about, I got in my head last week a bit, and I allowed things to get in my head. And so I was like, I was not prepared for today. Like, I wanted my videos like better and up, and I wanted to make my social medias look better, and I wanted to, do all these things, but I was in my head and I didn't do it. Right. I was just almost frozen in my head. And, we talked through some things, and I realized that I had allowed people to get in my head about my journey, and then it created me to freeze. But what's interesting is that the people that I allowed to get in my head about it aren't even doing what I'm doing. It's just people that are close to me who had an opinion that I should have, thank you, and then moved on from. But instead I'm like, well, they know me, and they consume social media, and they watch stuff, and so they must know more than I do about this. But, I let it happen. And I told Bonnie, I said, I realized that I gave them my power that day.
Mm-hmm.
I gave them that. And I hated that feeling. I sat with that and I was like, because that's not me. And you don't get to do that. Right. So I gave that back, and I said, I'm going to keep going with the way that I know how and the way that I'm learning how. And I'm going to figure it out. Right. I'm going to make that happen. So the fact that I was able to do that, when for my entire life, I've people pleased, I've done what others expected, I've checked all their boxes, I've gotten, to this point by following somebody else. And so the fact that I was able to, even just last week, be like, that's not my burden to carry. That's not my problem. That's yours. If you think I'm going the wrong direction, you're talking about something you consume. You're talking about something that you're interested in, not what I'm interested in. And so I gave it back.
And really, how much money, how is that business online going for you?
Yeah, it's something
that's how you would ask, almost like what you need to ask them, right? How's that going for you?
Yeah.
How are your leads? How are your followers? How's your content creation going?
They would never do it. They will consume it. They will watch it, but they would never do what I'm learning to do. And that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. But I had to learn that, to grow that confidence in myself, and to hold that boundary, and to be comfortable to say, no, that thank you, but no, thank you. And that's huge for me, because the old me could not do that. Couldn't do it. 4 or 5 weeks ago, couldn't do it. But I've been growing, and I've been setting boundaries because of the journey I've been on, and because I started with the challenge. And it's funny, because you don't take a marketing challenge to learn how to heal yourself.
I know, it's one of those things that just happens, but it's so important.
It's important because you have to get to that point to realize, what skills do you need? What are you lacking? Do a self audit. What are you missing? Did that work out for you? No. Why? And these are things I do. I drive all day long, every day. So I'm in my head. And so I can be in my head thinking about these things, and I can use it to improve myself, or I can use it to destroy myself. But one sounds better.
Where's the hat? Dave's hat. That was a hat throw right there. That's what it is right there.
Yeah.
There's always feedback from people.
Yeah.
There's always feedback. It doesn't mean it's right.
Yep.
Doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it's correct. But how we respond to it is our responsibility.
Right.
Are we going to use it to hurt us? Or are we going to use it to help us?
Yep. I figure we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and we know it. And everybody's 24 hours is going to look a little different. Mine might be now working on right now. We are, the kids have their sports. We have all the normal household things, plus working full time. My day might be full sun up to literally sundown. But it's how you use the time you have available that is going to make the most difference. And that's the part that I am working on, is how to cut the crap out of the rest of it and use the time I have available. And when I switched that mindset, I mean, I was up probably 3 hours last night. I think I went to bed around midnight because I finally started putting some pieces together and I started redoing my ebook. And I was like, I'm on a roll. Like, this is going so well because something clicked and all of a sudden things were making more sense. And I was just in a different headspace than I was when I first made it. And I was like, this is a better headspace I'm in now, and a more true version of me than when I started. Because when I started, I was the old me. I was the one who didn't have all the confidence, and I was the one who wanted to make things possible. I was the one who just, it was a good idea, and so I wanted to try to make it happen. But over time, I became the person who sees it happening and sees the possibilities. Now, am I where I want to be? Nope, not yet.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
But there's no way to go from A to Z without getting through every other step in between.
I mean, I was so hesitant. I'm like, I don't want to give you my social media handles because it's not the direction I want it to go. It's been messy. It's been disastrous. I mean, there's been some good ones, but like the ones that I was talking to the camera, man, I felt like a deer in the headlights about to crash. I'm like frozen in those videos.
But you won't get better at it
100%
until you do it, right?
I
you won't get the data from it and that experience from it that you need to go, like if you're on letter G to go to that next step to get closer to Z, right?
I put my camera on record. I got a car mount. So as I'm driving, I will just start talking and just get comfortable with the camera being in my face because I'm like, I'm driving anyways. So I might as well pretend I'm just talking to somebody, even if it's myself. So that way I can get more and more comfortable. And I may go back through those and try to pull little clips from them if any of them are good. But for the most part,
we got B-roll too. That's just B-roll that you can put some text on the screen over the top. I mean, I like to squeeze everything out of everything, right?
So I have tons of those because there might have been times I was talking and I all of a sudden I'm like, talk. I forgot what I was going to say.
Right. And I think even having that in content sometimes, it's just part of your personality, right?
Yep. And originally I wanted to start it with low edits because I want people to see, and even moms like me, I see people's polished stuff and I'm like, nope, there is no way my life is that polished. I don't have the fancy house. I don't have the my house we're living in my mother-in-law's house right now. And, my house is down to studs. There's insulation. So I was like, I don't have the stuff. And so I compared myself a lot to those things, but I realized that that's the real stuff people need to know about you. That's the real stuff that people need to see. Hey, I'm a real person. And I'm not just going to wake up one day and live in a mansion. I don't even want a mansion, but have all these glorious bougie little things that just make you look fancy because it's not me. I mean, I don't even have a diamond ring because I'm not fancy. Like, I look at that and I'm like, yeah, I'm a sports mom though. You ever seen people whose rings get caught and then their fingers get hurt? Like, I'm if I'm gardening or I'm outside or I'm lawn care or I'm this, and I'm like, it needs clean 24/7. It's not me. Right. So my husband had
that's part of this process is embracing, well, who am I?
Embracing who you are. Well, I used to feel like, well, the one I wear is silicone. It's nothing fancy, but at the same time, it's like, but that's me. So to take it back to your question of confidence, the confidence of where I am now and embracing who I am or who I'm becoming is night and day from where I started. And it all started by taking the challenge and accepting the challenge and just rolling with it.
Wow. Yep. Yeah. I love it. I love it. And I love this for you.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with a funnel, guys, or tech. It's all about stepping into your own power, stepping into your self-worth, stepping into new challenges in life, because otherwise life is just freaking boring. And then you feel like you're just living life for everyone else and not yourself. There's really good, sweet things that come with going after something and accepting the challenge of it.
I was talking to my oldest the other night. He had gotten into some trouble for some stuff, and I was just trying to talk to him and try to help him. It was bedtime, and whatever he was doing, and he was talking about sometimes he which is why I'm glad I'm healing my mindset, because sometimes he pulls the victim mindset first, and I'm like, oh no, I don't feel sorry for you. I love you, but I don't feel sorry for you. and I explained to him why, and I'm like, life is hard. Life is hard. It doesn't matter if you're 5. It doesn't matter if you're 15, if you're 25, if you're 30, if you're 60. It doesn't matter. Your life, it is hard, and it's going to throw things at you every step of the way. And it's just going to be a different kind of hard. My 3-year-old's hard is usually because brothers are taking his stuff, right? Or something is happening that's making his life hard. But my older boy's hard is different. They're in school. They're trying to figure out who they are. Their heart is different. Mine is all the responsibilities that I have, right? As you get older, it's just different. You might tackle and get really good at those responsibilities, but now you're going to have something new. You might have a death in the family. You might have something else. Something has happened, right? It's going to be different. It's truly, and I used to be like, yeah, okay. But it's truly how you deal with it. What are you going to do about it? If you're going to look at it at your hard and just almost like, one, you can't run away from it. It's not going anywhere. Turn around. It's still going to be behind you. It's still going to be there, right? You have to. And I think I shared it in the our Slack group too for the mentorship program. But I read a book to my 3-year-old pretty often, Going on a Bear Hunt. I don't know if you know that book, but when you go, going on a bear hunt, I'm going to catch a big one. What a beautiful day, right? And then it has to go, oh no, the big tall grass. Oh, I can't go over it. I can't go under it. I've got to go through it, right? And each thing it goes through the book, and it's like, well, I can't go over it. I can't go under it. So I better go through it. And I've read that book to my kids for years, but it didn't apply to me until now, going through this of where I've been growing. And I'm like, what a good message. Like, right. You can't always just like hop around something and be like, not doing that today. You have to go through the experiences, even if they're hard, because you'll come out on the other side, and then you'll look at that and been like, look what I did. I just did that.
And choosing to go out, I'm not going to do something. It's going to be challenging. It's going to have hard.
It will.
It's not just magic. But it's like, okay, so you're choosing to sit on your couch for 3 hours every night, watch Netflix, because life's hard. And you're going to eat dinner and complain about your boss, and complain about your 9 to 5, and complain about your commute, and complain about how you don't have time for this, and complain about how you don't have money for a vacation, and complain about that and this and your coworkers and that. And you're going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So what's your choice here? You chose that. It's like whoever is living in that, you're choosing that.
You chose it, and you choose it every day. And if you don't like it, make a different choice. Like it's hard to make a different choice, because you have to take your power that's in yourself and say, I'm making a different choice. I'm not letting something else control me anymore. I'm not. And you may still, I made a different choice to build my business. And this isn't the first business I built. I started off probably 11, 12 years ago. I needed my dogs trained at the time. And so I learned through a trainer how to train my dogs. And then he taught me how to build up a business with it. And so I built up a business, and I started dog training.
I love that.
But at the time, over the last 12 years, I did a lot. I've trained a lot of dogs, and I absolutely love it. But I didn't quite know or have the skills to make it a full-time big thing, right? Just like, that's what I do full-time. I always fit it in after work, or on the weekends, and I would fill my time with doing it afterwards until I got too busy to where I was like, I don't have the time to do as much as I want to or would want to do with it. Right. Mm-hmm. So is it something that I can learn to pick up and start over and do again? Yeah. Now I'm gaining those skills, right. And the confidence, but mostly it's the confidence to like, I can do something full time. I can do something, but am I still working full time for another job? Yes, for now, right. Because I'm gaining what I need. I made that choice, but even though I made the choice that I want out of that, I want to build a business where I don't have to work like if I'm not training a dog, I'm not getting paid, right? If I'm not at my job, so I want to build a business where it's work smarter, not harder. I don't want to have to physically be working that hour just to get paid. And that's where this came in, and I was just like, that's better for me. That's smarter for most people. That's the direction I want to take it in, because if I can free up my time, which is the most valuable thing I have, and I can go to lunch on my son's birthday and I can show up for them whenever they want, that's where I place my priorities and my values. So it's still hard while I'm still working, and it's not there yet. And that's hard for me because I get that desperate feeling of like, I just want it now, because his birthday's next week and he wants me to go. And what if I don't have coverage? What if somebody's off? All the things that make you feel desperate. But when you don't react in those modes, like I'm learning to not be reactive to everything. And I'm learning to, okay, how can I make something work? How can I shift? And how can I afford to do these things? How can I afford to finish our home renovations? How can I afford to, all the things that you need to pivot and learn is where you build yourself to and open.
Well, and you're so many more steps closer to those things, right? Because if you hadn't started, if you just went like, oh, too much, I gotta add too much, change too much, learn too much about myself, go through a little bit of a transformation, you would still be at square one going, crap, I feel so desperate right now of how am I going to make going to lunch work? But now you're in a space where you're like, I'm getting closer.
I'm getting closer.
Yep. I'm getting closer.
I'm on the path, and I see the direction it's heading in. And when you get to that point where I feel like you can see it, it's hard not to be like chomping at the bit, because you just want to get there. Right. You have to keep your mind focused to you're closer and you're getting there. And it's literally one day at a time. Like, it's not like I can just skip the week and been like, like I used to cheat on my band practice, right? And I practiced 10 minutes. I practiced half an hour, right? And then I show up to band practice, and she'd be like, oh, yeah, I can tell you've practiced. And I'm like, I didn't practice one bit.
Okay.
But it's not like that, right? You can't skip things here. You can't skip steps, and you can't. I mean, it took me back to even like starting with my business plan, right? At first, when you first go through a challenge, you're like, okay, yeah, I'll I
threw a sentence down, whatever.
Like, who am I talking to? I think I just want to talk to people. Anybody who wants to work from home, that's who I want to talk to, right? Until you have to realize that, like, you skipped a bunch of steps in there. So who are you really talking to?
I love it. So you did mention the mentorship program. Yep. You did decide to jump into that.
Yep.
So share with us, how's that been? What's been your experience? What have you gained from joining? Yeah. I guess, what's your experience with it so far?
It has been a phenomenal program. I used to I'm a pretty independent person. And so I used to kind of not scoff at, but not that you don't need it, because you need things, or you need to learn things, but like to hear that, you need a community, you can't do it alone. And I'm like, watch me, I used to just be like, I do a lot of things alone. I spent my entire life doing things for myself. I mean, if you can't rely on other people, you learn to rely on yourself. But in and part of my healing has been learning that that's not necessarily the best way either. Is that because what you're doing is you're putting up barriers and walls, and then you're not being vulnerable, and you're not sharing with others, and you're not opening So people can't see who you are. They can't see, and people need to see that to be successful here. They need to know who you are. They need to know where your heart is, and that you are in it for the right reasons, and not just like trying to make a quick buck, right? And so being part of the mentorship was at first intimidating for me, because I'm not used to a community or a group of people to work with or something. And so at first I was pretty quiet in the group, and I was like just sitting there, because what am I supposed to say? I don't know. And I'm just reading other people's posts, but then because my days are so busy that some days I would miss most of the days. And if it was a very active day in the group, now I'm overwhelmed, because I'm like, how am I supposed to catch up with all that and go back and follow all the conversations and whatever? So I was intimidated at first. And then, you know, the whole point is to teach you how to be resourceful and how to learn to find answers, right? And then I was intimidated to ask questions, because I was like, somebody's going to come back at me and be like, now, did you go look here, here, or here? And I'm like, well, no, I didn't know to go look there or there. And so I don't
think anyone's ever done that to anyone in that group.
Nobody has. This was my fears.
Right.
And so I was just, I was afraid of like looking stupid. I was afraid of not knowing something. And so I was just quiet, and I would just be like, maybe somebody else will ask a question and I'll just see it. Or maybe if I ask a broad enough question and then somebody can answer, and I can be like, I'll just message them directly, so I don't have to put it all out there. Right. So I had to learn to overcome my fears with it. And I had to learn that everybody else is there asking questions too. Everybody else is there supporting each other too. Everybody else. And so that you go from somebody who doesn't need, you know, that accountability, or that you can do hard things, and yeah, you can, but there's so much growth and more that came out of that mentorship program. And I'm only, I don't know, maybe 2 months into it. And it's for 6 months. So I look forward to seeing where I'm going to be in 4 more months than where I started, if I've come this far, you know? So yeah, I think that there is huge growth that comes from being willing to learn, and maybe it's just humility or pride, or whatever you put around yourself, whatever barriers you put around yourself, whatever's taught you along the way that got you to this point, that it's okay to change those things too. And it's okay to drop your fears. Just drop your fears about it, because you're not the only one. And I had to realize I wasn't the only one on my island either. You know, I'm not the only person who's learning this. I'm not the only person who's trying to stay home with her children, or to at least be able to show up for them more. I mean, if they have a field trip, I want to go. You know, if they have a class party, I want to go. If it just I want to be present. And I feel like I'm not the mom, or I wasn't the mom that I wanted to be, and I'm becoming the mom I want to be, because I have invested in myself. I started with, you know, a little bit of education, and then I was like, I want more. I want to know more. So I went more. And then up came the mentorship program. And for some reason, Bonnie just spoke to me. Like, I thought she must know me or something. I mean, like, how she was talking just made me feel like, oh my gosh, I've been there too. Like, I want her, please. You know, I wanted somebody who knew what I had gone through, and who knew what it felt like to be me for a second, because maybe they could help me be another version of me. And that's where I feel like that's been huge, just because it's just been an evolving process, and it will continue to evolve. But I think for anybody who is wondering if that's a good step for them, I would hands down promise you that if you're open to making those, you know, self audits and changes, and learning about yourself, and then learning how you can be a better version of that it will help them grow, and it will help them kind of get on the right trajectory with where they need to be, what their goals are. Yep.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
I love it. I just, confidence is oozing from you. And I
Oh my
love
gosh.
this. And I hope people really see this. And I believe they are. And, someone said, like, where's the fine line of being resourceful and asking for help? And for me, my answer to that question that's come up a couple of times in the comments is, if something is stopping you from progress, you're now 5 days and haven't done anything more in your
Yep.
business. 5 days you haven't, because of this question,
Mm-hmm.
you're worthy of getting it answered.
Yeah.
You're worthy to move forward with the next roadblock,
Well,
to
and
overcome it and to keep
to
going.
to follow with that too is that I learned, because that was my question, was like, can I ask a question? Is it okay to ask a question? Like I have
Mhm.
looked for things, but I'm not sure what I'm doing here, or even if I'm asking the right question for what I need answered, right? And so we kind of get all twisted up in here. But what I realized was that even with with anybody, with your business plan advisor, with your mentorship, program, anybody, even if you ask the question, they're going to be kind enough to direct you to the answer, right? And
Mhm.
that's what you need, really. That's truly what you need. Is they're not going to give you the answer, but they will direct you how to get it or where to go. And that's what I needed, because we are surrounded by so much information that
Mhm.
sometimes I found myself at first being overwhelmed in the sea of information I had. I had the
Right.
blueprints, I had all these things, and I'm like, is it in here? Is it in here? Like, where do I go for the answer? And I'm like, my time is so limited that I felt like I don't have time to look everywhere for something that I know has got to be so simple. And,
Mhm.
but what used to scare me at first, which was asking, where do I go to find this answer? That used to scare
Mhm.
me. But then I realized that I'm learning, and it, like I said, it's they are being kind to show you where to go. So ask your question anyways, because don't hold
Mhm.
yourself back and get in your own way because you're afraid to ask the question, like I was. That stopped me for a while. I was just too afraid to ask because I didn't want to seem like I wasn't doing my part, right?
Right.
Ask it
Right.
anyways. And then
Yeah.
you may not get the answer. Like, they're not going to give you the answer. And sometimes I'm like, oh, it'd be so much easier if I just got the answer. But you need to know where to go or where to look, because
Mhm.
when you're no longer in the, a program, I guess, are there going to be people who can still direct you? Absolutely. Are you ever going to
Right.
know it all? No, Dave doesn't even know it all. Like, there's still,
Right.
right? None of us are ever going to be like, I have achieved the most knowledge, that I can ever, like,
Ever in eternity, I am the smartest human on the planet. Call
yeah,
me the human version of Google, right? It's not
absolutely.
possible.
It's not possible. But I did learn to become better friends with my chat GTP. And I
Oh,
even named it Jeeves last night because I grew up with Ask
okay.
Jeeves.
Okay.
and so,
Right.
and so, um, and I realized how valuable that was to assist me in, okay, if I don't know what I'm doing here and I need to learn a program or a system, or I need to know, like, why is this not working, or why and okay, I started with, I'm going to hire you as my personal assistant. So what do we need to know about each other to make this relationship work? Is pretty much how I started the conversation last night.
You
And
absolutely can do that, and it's good. It'll ask you a bunch of questions and
it
get to
did.
know
And
you.
so I started answering
Uh-huh.
the questions, and it was like, perfect. I have a better idea of how to assist you on this. And I was like, man, this is great. And I just kept going with it because I just turned it into I wasn't just copy and pasting it or whatever, but I was like, okay, how I'm trying to figure out. I couldn't figure out on Canva how to hyperlink. Could not find it anywhere. I don't know why I've done it before, but I couldn't find it.
It was hiding from you in plain
Yeah.
sight, huh?
Well, for some reason, I was just like, or was it Canva, or was it? Yeah, I was working with Canva and System.io last night. So, anyways,
Mhm.
and so I went there and I was like, okay, I've been looking everywhere. I can't seem to find it. And here it is, pops up, and it gives me the where to go. And so I tried it again. I couldn't find it. So then I go to the chat box on the website. I'm like, how do I hyperlink something? And it tells me the steps. And I'm like, still can't find it. And then anyways, I ended up like okay, I sat back for a second and I was like, what am I missing here? Because this is clearly a me issue at this point. And so I reset, like, and I just kind of like took a minute, and then I looked at it and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? It was right there, the stinking, like, right on the top of my little thing. And I'm looking.
It's like looking in the fridge going, where's the milk? When the carton's right in front of you. It's just,
but I wasn't ready. I wasn't clear enough, you know, I was not there. And so you have to, it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be challenging, but don't be afraid to do it. Just clear yourself and then be ready to take the next step and be ready to do that. And the more you do that, the easier it will go, the faster that you let yourself do those things. It will go faster because you are open. And when you're open, you are more able and ready to receive.
And I love that. It is about being open and not just going through the motions. So it's probably been like 6 months. I had a conversation with a member, and they were saying how they've been to Support 101 multiple times, never got their question answered. And I was like, what? And as I asked additional questions and for information, they never raised their hand. They were just hoping
someone else
would ask their exact question. The 4 times that they went and still never raised their hand to get their roadblock, their question answered for what they needed. And then was upset that it was never answered and felt defeated and felt, oh, I'm never going to get this. I'm not going to understand. I'm never going to figure this out. And was really, you know, they were talking themselves out of why this wasn't working. And I was like, oh, you got to ask the question.
You got to ask the question.
You got to raise that hand in person, virtual, whatever you need to do. You got to get up show up to that call, show up with your advisor, show up for whatever is available to you. That's what's being open is. And not deciding already, I'm going to put as many barriers to my question as possible. I'm even going to show up to the Support 101 call, but I'm not going to ask my question. I hope they figure it out.
I hope.
Right? That's a wall. That's not being open. Right?
Yeah.
But it happens a lot. And we don't even realize we're doing it.
Yep.
Right?
I
don't even realize we're doing it.
Yep. It is the most valuable thing to get to. And I think of it like a light switch. I teach my children like a light switch. Ready? You may, like the old you wouldn't ask the question, flip the switch off. New you on, ask the question, right? Anything you need to step over, close your eyes, lights out, open your eyes. I'm ready. Let's go. Do it. You can do it. And when they visualize like, okay, lights off, lights on. Okay, I'm ready. Right. Reset. Even with my dog training clients, when they get frustrated with their dogs, which are many, right? Dogs can be frustrating. And I tell them, I'll hold their dog, take a minute, turn around, shake it off, take a deep breath, let your breath out. And when you feel that like calm spot, you're ready. Now do it. Now, right? Now you're open. Now you're ready to receive, right? And now you have more clarity. So just do it. Lights off, lights on. Do it.
I love that. Because, you know, change takes time. And doing new things, asking for help, talking to strangers, getting on camera, it's scary. And there are things I really relate to that personally, because to this day, my personality is not this bubbly, open, outgoing person. That's not me to who I was before. I was a very like, where I gotta go hide somewhere, right?
Don't see me.
And to this day, there's moments where I go to my husband like, so I'm gonna need to go back and just take a minute, and I'm gonna need you to order the pizza and talk to the stranger on the phone because I've hit my limit. I'm all done, right? And or as I was stepping into this new version of me, I'd be like, okay, for the next 20 minutes, I'm gonna do the hard thing. Then I can go back to my old self for another hour or so. But for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to do something new.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on camera. I'm going to film this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the hard thing that scares me. And I'm just going to do it for 20 minutes. right? And it's just allowing, I love that. Turn the switch on. And then you can turn it off and go, okay, I did it. I did 20 minutes of it. And then pretty soon over time,
the light
I did
stays
an
on
hour
longer.
of it.
Yep.
I did an hour. I did another hour. I did another 2 hours. And now suddenly it's seeping into everything and it just becomes easier. It just becomes who you're becoming.
Yep. I mentioned it, and part of this whole change for myself, I wasn't really seeking to, I needed to lose some weight after having my kids, and I had, all the stress of things, and I started not fitting into my clothes, and I started, just getting more comfortable wearing my husband's clothes or his shirts than mine because they fit better, and it became very quickly, it wasn't me. And just one day I was like, enough. It's not, I cannot be more comfortable in his than mine. Like I cannot be more comfortable or not comfortable in my own skin. Enough. And this was on this journey probably a month ago, probably pretty new into the mentorship program, actually. And so I had found this app, which I scan every product with, and it ranks it on terrible to healthy, right? Good. And I started cutting out everything that was bad, everything that had toxic chemicals and dyes and like all this stuff, right? It's just everything that was bad. And so I took myself down to pretty much meat, vegetables at first, but I still have like a cookie if I want it, right? And I bake with sourdough, so I make sourdough cookies. And so I'll have like one of those, or I'll have a slice of sourdough bread with cheese and bacon on it. I have like healthier options or something. Old me would have, I've done it so many times. I've tried to eat cleaner so many times, and the old me would get mad and resentful because it's so complicated and hard. And like, I can't have that. Like, I can't eat that, whatever. And I would sabotage. Old me would sabotage me. Right. And I noticed that as I started it this time, after I started the mentorship program, I never felt angry. My mind started feeling more clear. I never felt that I couldn't do something or I couldn't have something. And all of a sudden, over the time, the longer it went, I'm a happier version of me. I haven't once really sabotaged it. And old me would have done that pretty quick because it made me mad that I had to even do it. Right. And so it's like, I wasn't really seeking, I don't know what I was seeking at the time, just that I had enough. That's all I knew was I had enough. I needed to be comfortable in myself. So hands down, this journey has been healing for me from the time that I took the challenge to going through the blueprints, to going through the mentorship program, the whole 9 yards, or how many months it's been now. The whole thing has been incredible. And I would shout it from the rooftops to everybody who needs to not be afraid, because that is our biggest blocker, is that we block ourselves because we are too afraid to do something or to make a change that's scary.
Yeah.
But it can be your biggest growth to lights off, lights on.
This has been amazing. We're ending on that note because that was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. This is a save, a rewatch every week to get your butt into gear. Remember your why. Remember you're worthy. Remember you're going through transformation in a variety of ways that have nothing to freaking do with money, quite honestly.
None of it.
There's so much other stuff that's going on that you gotta address first, and that will come.
The money will come. It's not about the money at first. You hear that and you're like, but I need the money. Yeah, you do. We all do. But it's not about the money first. It's about healing and learning and growing and giving, serving, receiving. There's a whole process to it.
Yep. Oh, I love it. You have to come back. I love watching the growth you had. Bonnie has been a fantastic cheerleader, clearly amazing mentor with you as well. in the comments. You have to go back through and check out these comments as well.
I will.
And you got to come back, Jackie. I'm telling you, you're a repeat guest all day long. I'm fired up to just see where this continues to go for you. It's been phenomenal. This was a phenomenal interview. And thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone, please go follow Jackie on TikTok and Instagram at The Affiliate Difference. All connected. The Affiliate Difference. Those 3 words. Find her on TikTok and Instagram. Go give her a follow, comment, let her know that you saw her on Wake Up Legendary. Go give her some love. Rewatch this interview. Whether you saw it from the very start or came in part way, this was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. She also mentioned the accountability program that she is in, our mentorship and accountability program here with Legendary Marketer. You can get a free 30-minute call. This is about being open, like she shared. Be open. Just the call itself could help you. I've had a number of people take advantage of the free 30-minute call and got a lot of great tips and are running with those. So be open to what's possible, be open to advice and having a conversation about your business, about your mindset, about your future with somebody that is safe and gets it, and not a family member or a friend that has no clue what you're talking about. And you already know they're going to advise you out of doing anything because they don't get it. So this is a way to have a real conversation with somebody and get some guidance, get some next steps for yourself and what you're going through right now with your business, with your mindset, with everything. So you can get that free complimentary call by emailing Dave. Email dave@legendarymarketer.com. And all you need to do is put in the subject accountability or free call. Either one of those will alert Dave and he will connect you with a mentor that's right here with Legendary Marketer. And you can take advantage of it, which is pretty amazing. Oh, I'm fired up after that interview. I got to tell you, Jackie filled my own cup. I'm going to be selfish and just say thank you, Jackie, for all that you gave me today in reminding what we do here for all of our members, the difference we make. And I so appreciate that. And I know you did the same for many that are watching. So thank you, Jackie. Everyone have a phenomenal day. And as always, stay legendary. Peace.